Pastor Sarah. I'm with Mark Bracken, who is on our site team here at the church. And with all these stories I've been getting this month, I've really been excited to hear about somebody's story of recovery. In case you don't know, recovery is near and dear to my heart. And so Mark has agreed to share a story with us. So Mark, my very first question for you is, what was life like before Jesus? Can you tell me about it?
Well, I mean, it was chaotic. Growing up, I had good parents, and I was a very happy childhood actually. But going into high school, I decided to dabble with drugs, and actually, very, very early into my teen life, I started smoking marijuana. Then I let drinking, your typical entry level or gateway drugs, you might call it. And not having a clue of what it could possibly lead to. I just thought I was a typical teenager's life. I going into That's just how I party. I didn't know anything different. That's how I was able to cope with a lot of things, and it had its problems. It had consequences. and high school wasn't the priority. It was just something I had to do. It was definitely secondary. And it got enhanced when my father died when I was 15 years old. And that really took me into some of the harder drugs and just chaotic. I can remember just from being 18 years old, up until just a few years ago, jail, a lot of jail time, prison. It was just all kinds of consequences, not having any order in my life. I was always been able to work hard, but it wasn't I wasn't able to save money. It was always that drugs were always in the background, and no matter how I treated it, I'd always end up, in a bad situation, even leading up to the latest one, my last use, the last 4 weeks that I was using, I OD'd 4 times. And it came more than just consequence of, losing my freedom. It was about to take my life completely, in a physical sense. And it was just absolutely just chaotic and unmanageable. And a lot of depression. It's why. And then the more depression, the more you want to use. It's like that. The drugs were the answer for everything. And but it was a deceiving answer. It wasn't. It never ended up being the way that I planned it out to be. It was always like, okay, I'm going to do this and do that, and it always turned out something different and always negative.
Yeah. So what changed? What triggered that? You said your last 4 times, like your or last 4 weeks there. What triggered that moment?
Well, it kind of got forced upon me, but being that the last time, and luckily, and that's just God having His plan. I didn't die. So, but being that last time that I OD'd, I was actually working at a car wash, and I OD'd at work, and they called the paramedics, and I was actually on probation at the time, and I didn't go see my probation officer, and that led to me having a warrant out for my arrest. So I went to jail, and that was God's plan. I know that's it, and at the time, it don't seem like that's very much fun, but it was absolutely a blessing, hindsight. And from jail, part of my conditions of my probation was I had to go to rehab, and then from rehab there was a guy in the Nova House. His name was Don Frick, and he got me hooked up with the Joshua House. And in the Joshua House, and I got saved as a little kid, so I knew who Jesus was, but I just didn't understand what having a relationship with him was, and that was the difference. And that's what Joshua House, the guys there and the leadership that they have there, and they understand the spiritual, responsibility they have that they help these guys with, helping me personally. He just he got me in touch with that. And then they taught me discipline, and just that not everything's about you. And it seems like as an addict, we're very selfish, and we're just trying to please ourselves and make things easier for ourselves. And what I found is, like, when you're chasing Christ, and when you're being Christ led, that you're trying to help other people. It's almost an absolute condition. You almost feel like you have to do that. If you're not helping somebody else, then you're probably not doing the right thing. And those were all those were all things that I learned from there. And then on top of the connection that we had with Ginsburg, Joshua House, being from Next Step, and which ultimately led to me working at Ginsburg, which was a really cool story. Being that I was supposed to go on a mission trip, and my probation would not let me go on this trip because it was out of state. And I remember being so upset. I prayed to God. I was upset. I was like, I didn't understand. Like, really? It's a mission trip. But because I wasn't able to go, it led to me having an interview, for landscaping job here. So it was really neat. So I was like, okay, I see what you did there. So
Yep.
it was just, and from there, I'm still learning. I still feel like I'm like a baby Christian, like that. It's been, my relationship is every day. I have devotions, and I talk to Christ every single day, but it's like, I still have so much to learn, but I love the people that I'm around here. The Ginsburg community is just absolutely awesome. And I got some really good mentors around me, and that if I didn't have them, that's how God teaches me. Because
Right.
using those men and women to kind of like shape my way of what am I going to do next. So yeah, that's pretty much.
So if you had to tell somebody why Jesus, or why believe, why go all in, what would you say?
Me personally, like, without him, it doesn't seem like there's a way. It just seems like, now, yeah, you can live, but that's about it. You're living. It just felt like I was just kind of existing, and where, when with Christ involved, there's a purpose. I get up every day and I feel like, okay, I'm doing something, and he has something for me. And the more I'm in touch with Christ, the more that becomes clear. Like, I don't have very many doubts about anything that I'm doing. Now,
Right.
small doubts, but it is always made clear. And if I'm not clear, then I go back into prayer. And then the prayer usually leads to either something happening or a person. I never get spoken to Christ. Christ don't speak to me in an audible sense, but he speaks to me through other people, and he speaks to me through, put thoughts in my head, like just thoughts that I know that are not for my
Oh
own.
yeah.
And it's like, and I try to explain that to some people, and it's like, they're like, what do you mean? Like a burning bush, like with Moses? Like, no, it's just like he'll put, with me personally, that's just how it happens for me. It's like, things will come to mind. And then all of a sudden those thoughts will match up with whatever I'm doing. And it's amazing. And there's just no doubt in my mind where it's coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's the same way it happens for me. I hear from God, and but I don't audibly hear something, but I know without a doubt that, yep, that's it. That's what God's telling me.
That's a
Mark,
spiritual relationship.
this is so amazing. I praise God that you were able to recover, and you've been able to be safe and healing, and that Jesus showed up just like he did, in just such a way. I thank God for Joshua House. Like, I
Yeah.
have gotten to see the fruits of their ministry over the years, and it's just been amazing. And so thanks so much. And we'll have to shout out and thanks to the Joshua House guys as well.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I appreciate what you're doing here. It's awesome. Like, it's like, it's the beacon, like you're going to save people's lives because of this. I mean, only God knows how that's going to look, but yeah, so you need to have a great deal of gratitude toward yourself as well.
Thanks. I appreciate it so much. Jesus uses us in ways we can't even imagine. And so it has been great to hear your story. Thank you so much. And we will talk later. Have a
All
great
right,
day.
you're quite welcome. Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.